Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, the growing economic impact of the continued government shutdown. Also tonight, a look at the legacy of pioneering primatologist and anthropologist Jane Goodall. And we'll hear about how the Heard Museum plans to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Arizona Congresswoman-elect Adelita Grijalva is still waiting to be sworn into office. Democrats claim that the Republican Speaker of the House is stalling to delay a House vote on releasing the Epstein files. Regardless of the reason, Grijalva still waiting.
There was a pro forma session. I was in D.C. and now I hear, well, the next time that Congress is in session, to be in session September 20th. So now does pass at the House back. I don't know any idea when I get sworn in, and the Speaker's office has not had any direct communication with me.
And Grijalva wonders aloud about how she would be the deciding 218th signature on a discharge petition that would force a vote on the Epstein matter.
I am going to be the 218th signer to the discharge petition. So that is the only thing that most people are pointing to. I mean, I am a woman of color, a Chicana from Tucson. None of those factors, I don't think, are reasons why I wouldn't be being sworn in, other than pointing to the Epstein files and the complete lack of transparency from this administration in releasing those files. The other is Speaker Johnson has closed down votes in the recent past to avoid a vote on the Epstein files. So there does seem to be a connection.
The Speaker's office is saying that a swearing in will happen when the House returns to session. It's day 6 of the U.S. government shutdown, and there's no end in sight as Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill continue to disagree over extending ACA health insurance tax benefits. But what is the economic impact of the shutdown, and what to make of concerns that what's happening could factor into the economy slipping toward a recession? Joining us now is economist Jim Rounds, CEO of Rounds Consulting Group. Jim, good to see you again.
Always
Thanks for
good to
joining.
see you.
Okay, where do the money matters aspect?
Well, you have the government component of it, and so they're debating about health care. We did an analysis of how it would impact Arizona, and each $1 billion loss coming into the state results in about 36,000 jobs that we would lose. But what they did is they took a jackhammer to the program where they needed a scalpel to try to get rid of waste. And then we have to figure out a way of not just converting the healthcare coverage by the government by I think it's after the next election. We might need 5 or 10 years to actually make this work if they're going to shift things to the state. So there's information out there. We have to hope that Congress listens to that and the president listens to some of the numbers so we do it efficiently. But they're very far apart on that issue right now.
Yeah, they sure are. And Democrats are saying that the people can't afford it, the nation can't afford it if these premiums shoot up as they will without them doing something with extending these ACA tax credits. What is the economic impact if those premiums do spike?
Well, it'll be like I mentioned, it'll be significant, but at the same time, we have to keep remembering that they're doing it for a reason. They're doing it because there indeed is a lot of abuse in the system. But with our recommendations, you have to use a scalpel, like I said. We have to go through and look for specific ways and not just get rid of everything altogether. And if the federal government and all the economists and policy advisors can't figure out how to do that, we have way bigger problems than just healthcare funding in this country. So I feel like there is an answer, but people aren't willing to go that extra step, and I see that on both the Democrat side and the Republican side.
Yeah, because they're saying some of these premiums could spike as much as 55%.
Well, and think about it. When you have individuals that have higher incomes, they're spending a lower percentage of their income on healthcare, so it's not going to impact them as much. Lower income individuals spend a larger percentage on healthcare. But right now, they're also spending a higher percentage on housing and other things. And so it ends up putting additional pressure on the lower income individuals.
Indeed. The president now has been threatening to lay off even more federal employees if this thing doesn't get worked out. What is the economic impact of that around the country, here in Arizona?
So it depends on whether or not we're going to see a permanent loss in that economic activity, or if it's going to be something that's just postponed. So if they're talking about furloughing hundreds of thousands, not just tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of individuals, they're going to pull back if they're not getting a check, and they're not going to be spending as much, which means we're going to have a little bit of a slower period in terms of the economy. Now, if it's just postponing purchases, then the next period we're going to have a little bit of a spike when they end up purchasing those items that they were planning to. But not everything is delayable. Entertainment, perishable items, there's a lot of different things where you're not going to be able to fill that hotel room from 2 weeks back that was vacant.
I was going to say, that seems like quite the gamble here. It seems like a gamble saying it'll all be okay in a certain time. You don't know if it's going to be okay, and you don't know how it's going to be okay.
It'll be okay if this gets both sides to be a little bit more realistic with how to look at this. And I'm very disappointed, again, with both the far, far right and the far, far left on coming to what's the best economic solution for this, because we can't be spending money at the rate that we're spending. I'm already thanking my son, as I mentioned on previous shows, for paying for the higher taxes that he's going to have to pay because we're enjoying all the benefits of all that extra debt right now. And the government has this propensity to, when times are good and there's lots of money, you spend it all. When times are bad, then you complain about, well, you spend it all on this program or that program. We need a more balanced approach to the budget over time. And even the budget hawks, the ones that are concerned about the budget increasing, they're the same ones that voted for the spending increases over the last handful of years that added $10 trillion to the national debt. Again, in just 4 years, that's a big increase.
And we're not getting jobs numbers. The last jobs report didn't happen because the government is shut down.
Right.
What is the impact of not getting the numbers, and B, I mean, there's a sense out there that the numbers aren't reliable because if you give the wrong numbers, you could lose your job. I mean, it just seems like that does not make for a stable way to forecast the economy.
So a couple of things. Not having a particular data point, or if it's delayed, doesn't bother me, because any data point that comes out is irrelevant to me. I look at the trend that's developing. So a single data point doesn't matter, but you have to have that single data point in order to add it to the other two to see if there's a trend developing. But right now we're seeing job growth slowing about what we were predicting, below the 50,000 each month. And we're going to go negative probably. We're looking like we're going to go into a little bit of a soft landing in terms of an economic recession maybe next year. The only reason that people are saying we're not going to have it this year isn't because of more optimism. It's because it's October. There's not a lot of time left before the end of the calendar year, so just the timing is making it more likely to be the next calendar year. But I think we will have a recession. I'm hoping it'll be mild, but there's so much uncertainty out there. It's going to be difficult to plan for.
I was going to ask about a recession, and how does that equation, how does that formula change if this government shutdown continues?
At some point, there's going to be a lot of public pressure for this to be resolved. Individuals are only going to be willing to work without a paycheck for so long. You know, I can't remember the term for them, but the indispensable workers, the people that work at the airports, firefighters, military, will still be getting checks, but others won't. They're only going to be willing to do that for a while, and then there'll be a little bit of an uprising, and that's when there's extra pressure on the politicians to come together. So maybe we need a little bit of a micro-revolution in this area to get people to come together on this topic.
Well, last question here. We got about a minute or so left there, so relatively quickly, if you could, what to watch for? What do we watch for as far as this debate is concerned and what the economy is doing?
So with the debate, I expect additional pressure to come in probably in the next week. If it goes on for another week, the week after that is going to be very tough for politicians. With the economy, we've already been seeing slowing in job growth to about what we would have expected with a recession within the next 6 months. But the GDP numbers, if you adjust for the tariff issues, have been sliding a little bit. So the story is the economy is already slowing. The tariffs are going to kick in a little bit with a delay because no business wants to be the first to raise their prices. So we're going to see some price hikes and additional inflation this winter. We're going to see the Federal Reserve Board have to, if they're smart this time, unlike what they were in the past, they're going to have to lower rates while they still have a chance, because when inflation goes up because of the tariffs, they're not going to have that opportunity anymore, even with the weak job number. So expected downturn, but hope for it to be mild next calendar year.
Jim Rounds, Rounds Consulting Group. Always good information, Jim. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Your first guest, Margaret Thatcher.
Thank you for joining us, Mrs. Thatcher.
Goodbye then. One mistake and they will have me out.
We have to be tougher.
I know what I have to do.
What on earth is going on?
Betrayal.
Sunday night at 7 on Arizona PBS.
Well, well, the great detective.
I'm Chief Inspector Megre.
Do you know who I am?
No, but I know what you did.
You've just challenged a killer. You're playing a dangerous game, boss.
Checkmate.
Megre on Masterpiece Mystery.
Sunday night at 8 on Arizona PBS.
On Masterpiece.
We're looking for 6 robbers and 3 tons of gold.
I should take 25%.
If you're looking for the gold, it's all around you. This will only get faster till one day it's all gone.
The Gold on Masterpiece.
Sunday night at 9 on Arizona PBS.
Legendary primatologist and anthropologist Jane Goodall died last week at the age of 91. Goodall left a lasting legacy in her research into people and animals and the environment, all by way of her work studying chimpanzees. That legacy extends to the Valley, where ASU currently archives more than 6 decades of Jane Goodall's research on chimpanzees in the wild. To learn more, we welcome ASU primatologist Ian Gilby. He's with the School of Evolution and Social Change and the Institute of Human Origins, where the Jane Goodall archives are held. Welcome to Arizona Horizon. Good to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Just your general thoughts on the passing of Jane Goodall.
Well, we're all devastated. I mean, we knew it was coming, but it seemed very sudden, and the world has really lost a true icon.
I mean, the more you look into her life and the more what she said, what she thought, just an amazing person. How did she change science?
I mean, she changed it in so many ways. I mean, I think she basically pioneered the field of primatology as we know it today. And she was famous for thinking about and acknowledging the fact that animals have personality, that they're not just they're not numbers, they're just, they're individual beings, and so that really changed things.
And what really changed it for her, right, was this first notion and first, I guess, evidence of tool making, or of tool using, and I guess tool making and using as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so it's an incredible, it's something I never get tired of watching, this termite fishing behavior.
Yes,
where they strip leaves off of sticks and then pierce a termite mound, wiggle the stick a little bit, and the soldier termites grab on the end and they pull them out and eat them. It's amazing.
And the idea of rational thoughts, the idea of emotion, I mean, hugs and kisses and all that. She saw that out in the wild with these chimpanzees.
Yep, absolutely.
And that was considered, why was that considered such a surprise?
I think, again, at that point in time, people generally, thought of animals as just sort of reactionary things that didn't really have any kinds of emotions or feelings or thought at all.
Yeah, we're seeing you out there in the wild there.
That's me in the wild.
As you're hanging out with your friends there. But again, close bonds with family, close bonds with community. Was she amazed by this? Was she surprised by this? Or was she such a scientist that it was just more evidence?
That's a very good question, and I don't really know the answer. I doubt that she was surprised, because, I mean, she was very into animals and was very observant before she went to Africa. So I'm sure she knew at that point that, what her feelings about animals were, and then she just saw it reflected in the chimps.
And she saw that reflected in humans, did she not? How big a deal was that?
Huge. huge. I mean, she was really one of the first, if not the first, to really highlight how similar chimpanzees and humans are in the good and unfortunately in the bad as well.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that in a second. But the idea of cooperative hunting, sharing the spoils, the dominant males kind of pushing around, trying to make sure. She documented that. She saw all that. Did it take a while for the chimpanzees to understand that this woman out here was not a threat or prey?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, it took months for her to get their trust, if you will. And so she was extraordinarily patient and would go out into the forest. She'd sit up on a spot that would be named Jane's Peak, and she would view the valley, listen to calls, and use her binoculars to observe them.
Did she ever think or worry about her presence changing the nature of things?
I'm sure she did, and that is something that we are very aware of, that it's impossible to study these animals without being there.
Yes.
So we don't really know what our effect is going to be. But I think in general we feel that the research itself is what's keeping these populations going. Right, the research draws attention, and the reason, because it was because of her work that Gombe National Park was founded.
Yes.
Right.
And you referred to this earlier, and I wanted to get to this because it sounded from her interview, it sounded like this was a real surprise to her and a shock, maybe a disappointment. I'm not sure. You tell me. The idea that there are warlike actions. I mean, chimps can get pretty doggone deadly serious with each other.
Yeah, they can be very, they're deadly creatures, and they do not get along with their neighbors. And so she was the first in the Western world to see what basically looked like systematic warfare between two groups.
And that was a surprise to her.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Have you seen that out in the wild as well?
I've seen patrols where males go into sort of silent mode, and they go to the edge of the territory, and they're very, very quiet and observant, and they're clearly looking for evidence of other chimpanzees.
Yeah,
but I've never seen an attack, thank goodness.
Yeah, it must be absolutely fat. The Jane Goodall Institute at ASU. Give us a description. What are we talking about here?
Well, we're in the amazing position to have all of the long-term data that have come out of Gombe National Park since Jane started there in 1960. So starting with her initial observations, the initial data collection, data from visiting scientists, PhD students, and so on, and then the bulk of it is data collected by Tanzanian field assistants daily since the late 60s on these chimps.
Yeah, yeah. Jane Goodall is gone. Who replaces Jane Goodall? Obviously, you can't replace her. Yeah. Who succeeds her? How does the field grow without her?
I don't know. I think that's time will tell. I mean, we're all trying our best to build upon what she did, but there's no replacement. And in fact, we're a large team of people. I'm one of many principal investigators who study the chimpanzees at Gombe, and we're just trying our best to I don't know, follow her legacy.
Yeah, follow in the field. To think about her doing that on her own without anything beforehand, that must be just absolutely amazing to think about.
Yeah,
Ian Gilby, again, ASU School of Human Evolution and Social Change, and a whole bunch of other places over there at ASU.
That's right.
Primatologist. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on Jane Goodall. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, the governor of Oregon on President Trump's effort to send in the National Guard. That's coming up at 6 on Arizona PBS.
The Heard Museum is set to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day on October 13th. The event looks to celebrate Indigenous resilience and creativity, along with educating visitors on the many varieties of American Indian culture. Patty Talahangva is the Heard Museum's Chief Programming and Engagement Officer. There she is. And Marcus Mononukut is the museum's Director of Community Engagement. Good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Ted. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to start with you. I've known you. You've been a broadcaster and a journalist here for so long. But we're talking about Indigenous Peoples Day. What are we talking about?
Well, it's a day to celebrate the fact that we're still here, we're still around, and we want to invite people to the Heard Museum for a day of events that will celebrate being Native. And our theme is everybody dance, because every Native culture has a dance that they do in all kinds of, whether they're ceremonies or just activities, or social activities for the tribal people. So we are having a day of fun and celebrating the fact that we're still here.
Yeah, indeed. What does the holiday mean, Marcus, to Indigenous people?
It gives us a chance to be recognized. There are 37,000 Native people in Phoenix alone, and there's probably, I'd say, 40% or so that don't know much about Native Americans. So it just gives us a chance to highlight our culture and to celebrate and to bring people in.
And Patty mentioned the everybody dance, the theme here. I would find it fascinating to see the different cultures, the different tribes, and the different dances. Are there things, though, that when you see these, do you say, I know where that came from?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Sure, yeah. I've been at the museum for some time and I've worked in the collection, so I'm very familiar with the material culture of the tribes. And everybody dances, and so it just came about with the idea that at the powwows where you see the regalia, in between the contest and the specials, they call out a intertribal and everybody dance.
Isn't that something? Now, will there be I heard there might be some contemporary stuff, some rock and pop and stuff like that. Is that going to be there too?
Absolutely, Ted. We want to invite you personally to come down and learn how to chicken scratch.
Oh my goodness.
Also known as Waila, because we'll have Gertie from Gertie and the Boys, and she will talk about the dance, and that's a dance from the Tohono O'odham Nation. Then they'll do a dance demonstration, and then we'll have a dance contest.
A dance contest?
So we'll have that. We'll have the
silent disco.
Silent disco.
A silent disco will use 3 DJs. We have Iwa, DJ Reflection, and DJ Javin, who is the official DJ for the Phoenix Mercury.
Oh, wow.
And so it takes 3 channels, and participants just put the headphones on and they can change the channels and listen to it and just dance. So it's in your headphones.
I see. So everyone's kind of going off on their own tune half the time.
It's really fun to watch.
A great scene to see.
I was going to say, it might be interesting to watch. What else is going to go on there? What other celebrations?
Well, we have some great art activities, so it's for all ages. And we'll be doing
We'll be making some bracelets that are dance themed. I have an example here.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, like this.
Very
it says
nice.
Bailar.
Very nice. Very nice.
We also have a chair Zumba that will be taking place. So that's just some Zumba that takes place in the chair. So trying to be accessible for all ages and appetite.
Makes sense. Outdoor sculpture gallery. I mean, it's also a way to celebrate the Heard Museum, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. That's one thing that we hear from people who come in when they bring friends from out of town. And the people say, well, actually, I've never been to the Heard Museum, but my family came from out of town, and that this is where they want to go. I think that's true for too many Phoenicians. So it's a chance to come down to the museum. We talked a little bit earlier about statistics. So many people in Phoenix have never met a Native American. More than 48% of Americans say they don't think natives exist today. So this is a chance to really come down. We are invisible, and we're invisible in our own lands. And so to be able to be a part of Indigenous Peoples Day and come to the Heard Museum, not only will you be able to partake in these specific activities, but you can see all of our wonderful exhibits. This is an exhibit of Jerry Jocka photos, and he documented so many just really well-known Native artists when back 20, 25 years ago. So it's wonderful to see how they've aged and how their art has changed. We have like 15 plus galleries.
Yeah, yeah.
So many wonderful art exhibits to come and see.
And Marcus, real quickly, as far as someone who thought you were invisible and didn't even know the Heard Museum existed, give me like just about 15, 20 seconds here. Describe the Heard. Patty did a great job, but what would be the elevator description?
Well, the Heard Museum situated in downtown Phoenix. It focuses on American Indian art and culture. It celebrates that throughout the year with different events, hoop dance, Veterans Day coming up. So we're there celebrating Native culture and art.
And Indigenous People Day on October 13th. Patty, Marcus, good to have you both here. Thank you so much. Good to see you both.
Thanks for having us.
And Squilly, thank you, Ted.
Thank you. And that's it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.